Chapter 1. The Unwilling Bride. The chime of the grand clock in the Silverstone mansion echoed throughout the marble-floored halls, each resonant toll heralding the start of a new chapter, not one that Beatrice Silverstone had ever wished for. In the opulent dressing room on the topmost floor, Beatrice stood silently before a full-length mirror, her deep eyes gazing at her reflection. The magnificent wedding gown, custom-made by a world-renowned designer, clung to her slender frame, every intricate lace and sparkling crystal glinting under the soft golden light. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, with a few delicate tendrils framing her refined features, and her flawless makeup only added to her innate elegance. Yet Beatrice's eyes, once bright with childhood joy, were now shadowed with sadness and an unshakable unease. The room was so quiet she could hear her own heavy sigh breaking the oppressive silence. Beatrice stepped back, her exquisite heels clicking lightly against the polished wooden floor. The family's heirloom diamond necklace glimmered around her neck, a symbol of the Silverstone legacy, but also a weight chaining her to this marriage. "Family honor, Beatrice," her father James Silverstone had said the night before. "If you don't go through with this, everything your mother and I built will disappear." Beatrice closed her eyes, fighting back the tears threatening to spill. Catherine Silverstone, her mother, a woman of unparalleled strength and resolve, would never have allowed her daughter to be placed in such a position. But Catherine had been gone for 3 years, taken by a mysterious car accident, leaving Beatrice to face a pressure she had never been prepared to shoulder. "I am not a commodity to be traded, Father," she had said, her voice trembling but resolute. Yet James had merely turned away, his gaze cold, as if the financial burdens of the company had drained him of all emotion. Beatrice knew she could not change her father's mind, but she could change her own fate. For weeks, she had been quietly preparing for this day, the day she would shed this lavish wedding gown, leave the mansion, and reclaim her freedom. She glanced at the antique clock on the wall. Less than an hour remained before she was due to walk down the aisle, where Maxwell Richardson, older than her father by 2 decades, awaited. Maxwell, with his false smile and predatory eyes, was the embodiment of everything she despised. "No," she whispered, her hands clenching into fists. "I won't let my life be decided like this." Beatrice crouched down and pulled a small box from under the vanity. Inside were a pair of flat shoes, a cheap burner phone, and some cash she had discreetly withdrawn from her personal account. She had also unlocked a small hidden door that led to a secret corridor behind the room, one that would take her out to the garden. Taking a deep breath, she adjusted the layers of her wedding gown to conceal her compact escape kit. Beatrice looked into the mirror one last time, not to check her appearance, but to remind herself that she deserved to control her own destiny. As the sound of footsteps outside grew louder, signaling the arrival of attendants to escort her to the ceremony, Beatrice closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "This is my last chance." Welcome to today's story. Let us know which city you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to never miss out on meaningful stories like this one. Chapter 2. The Fateful Kiss. The night air was thick with the scent of roses from the sprawling gardens of the Silverstone estate, but Beatrice paid no attention. Her flats padded quickly along the gravel paths, carefully avoiding the beams of the large floodlights. The faint moonlight illuminated her face, her eyes blazing with a mix of determination and anxiety. "Almost there," she whispered, clutching the hem of her wedding gown tightly. Just one more pathway, and the small gate at the end of the garden would lead to her freedom. But then she heard footsteps. "Search the area. She couldn't have gone far." The voice of a guard called out, closer than she had hoped. Beatrice froze for a second, her breath caught in her throat. But survival instincts kicked in. She quickly ducked behind a large bush, her heart pounding like a drum. Stay calm, just stay calm. Plans, however, are never flawless. As she shifted to sneak past the bush, a sudden beam of light shone directly on her. "Who's there?" a deep, commanding voice demanded. Beatrice turned, startled by the flashlight that pinned her in place. It was a tall man in a security uniform, his sharp eyes glinting with authority. There was an air about him that was distinctly out of place for an ordinary guard. The name tag on his chest read, Ajo Ambrose. I... she stammered, but the sound of hurried footsteps from the other guards sent her into panic mode. She needed a way out, immediately. Without thinking, Beatrice lunged forward. To Iho's utter astonishment, she grabbed him by the shoulders, pulling him down as her lips pressed against his in a sudden, desperate kiss. The unexpected act seemed to freeze time. Iho was momentarily stunned, but not by the kiss. It was her eyes, those desperate, determined eyes that spoke volumes. He understood the situation instantly. The approaching footsteps grew louder. Iho dropped his flashlight, his firm hands coming up to rest on Beatrice's shoulders as he pretended to go along with her ploy. "What's going on here?" Another guard appeared, his suspicious gaze darting between them. "Nothing at all," Iho replied, his deep voice calm but authoritative. "Just a panicked bride looking for some air before her big moment." The other guard hesitated, his eyes narrowing, before he finally nodded and moved on. As soon as the guard disappeared, Beatrice pulled away from Iho, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Please don't tell them." Iho studied her intently, his deep eyes calculating, yet unreadable. After a moment, he spoke. "Follow me. I know another way out." "Are you serious?" Beatrice asked, her surprise evident. "I wouldn't help if I wasn't," he replied, his lips quirking into a faint smile. Without time to question his intentions, she decided to trust him. Iho led Beatrice through a hidden path in the garden she had never noticed before. He moved with an agility and familiarity that made her wonder just how he knew the estate so well, but there was no time to ask. They stopped at a small, concealed gate behind thick ivy. Iho pulled a hidden lever, and the gate swung open to reveal an escape route. "Thank you," Beatrice whispered, glancing warily over her shoulder. "Don't thank me yet. Do you have a plan?" Iho asked, his voice tinged with genuine concern. No. I just know I can't stay here," she admitted. Iho regarded her for a moment, his gaze serious yet compassionate. "Fine, but first you'll need a safe place to lay low. Follow me." Beatrice barely had time to process his words before he started walking, his steps confident, as if this wasn't the first time he'd helped someone escape danger. What Beatrice didn't know, nor could she have guessed, was that the man leading her wasn't just an ordinary security guard. Iho Ambrose was, in fact, the CEO of Ambrose Technologies, one of the leading tech conglomerates in Africa. He was undercover at the Silverstone estate to investigate Maxwell Richardson's shady dealings, a nemesis in a high-stakes corporate takeover war. But his meticulously planned mission had just been disrupted by an impulsive kiss from a runaway bride. "This girl," Iho muttered under his breath as they slipped through the night. He had no idea how tangled this story was about to become, but his heart, oddly enough, seemed to have already made up its mind. Chapter 3. The Perilous Escape. The faint glow of streetlights reflected off the wet pavements, casting an eerie stillness over the deserted streets. Beatrice clutched the coat Iho had handed her tightly, its fragile warmth battling against the tension coursing through her veins. They had managed to flee the Silverstone estate, but the distant roar of patrol cars was a constant, invisible blade pressing against their momentary sense of safety. "Right turn," Iho whispered, nodding sharply toward a narrow alley. Beatrice didn't ask questions. She had no choice but to trust the man who had helped her escape the wedding, as though they were in some elaborate action movie. They hurried through the tight passage, their footsteps echoing against the brick walls on either side. The headlights of a patrol car swept across the corner ahead, forcing them to halt abruptly. Iho scanned the surroundings, his sharp eyes flickering as though mapping every route in his mind. "What's your plan now?" Beatrice whispered, her voice trembling but her gaze steady. Iho pulled a small device from his pocket. A screen flickered to life, displaying their location along with the surrounding streets. Beatrice glanced at the gadget, astonished. "What is this?" "Technology from Ambrose Technologies," he replied, his fingers deftly working the controls. "We designed it to monitor buildings and urban areas. Conveniently, it has other uses in situations like this." Beatrice was surprised, but there was no time for further questions. Iho led her toward an old rundown shop, its creaky door protesting loudly as he pushed it open. "Inside," he said, his deep voice calm yet commanding. The interior was cramped and dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of aged wood. Aho glanced around before pulling back a curtain to reveal a hidden door behind the counter. "What is this now?" Beatrice asked, her eyes widening in surprise. "One of my safe houses," Ajo answered, leading her through the concealed passage. "I'm always prepared for contingencies." Beatrice couldn't help but give him a skeptical look. "Who are you really?" "The person you desperately need right now," he replied with a fleeting smirk. As they entered the secret room, Aho activated a set of surveillance monitors. Screens flickered to life, displaying live footage from security cameras in the surrounding area. Beatrice's breath hitched as she saw a group of guards combing through the streets, their flashlights cutting through the night like predatory eyes. "They're still looking for us," she murmured, the weight of the situation pressing on her chest. "Can we really get away?" Aho tapped a series of commands into the keyboard. "Don't worry, they won't find us here. But we can't stay for long. We need to keep moving." Beatrice nodded, the fear in her heart slowly being replaced by an inexplicable sense of trust in Aho. While they waited, Ajo brewed 2 cups of coffee using a small machine tucked into the corner of the room. Handing one to her, he softened his usually stern demeanor. "Care to tell me why you ran away?" Ajo asked, his voice gentle yet curious. Beatrice took a cautious sip of the coffee, its warmth momentarily soothing her frayed nerves. She set the cup down and took a deep breath. "This marriage, it's not just about money," she began, her voice hoarse. "Maxwell Richardson is a cruel man. He's destroyed families, companies, and I suspect he had something to do with my mother's death." Aho's brow furrowed. "Are you sure? What makes you think that?" Beatrice hesitated, gathering her thoughts. "Before my mother died, she told me she'd uncovered something unusual in one of the company's deals. But before she could act on it, the accident happened. I don't believe it was just a coincidence." Aho regarded her quietly, his gaze filled with a mix of understanding and contemplation. After a moment, he spoke. "I think you're right," he said. "Richardson isn't just a businessman. He's far more dangerous than you realize." Beatrice's eyes narrowed in suspicion. "How do you know that?" Aho's smile returned, though it carried a hint of bitterness. "Let's just say I have my own reasons for wanting to take Richardson down, but I can't tell you everything right now. You'll have to trust me." The conversation continued, the tension in the room giving way to a quieter, more introspective atmosphere. Beatrice started to realize that the man in front of her was far more than a simple security guard. His knowledge, his skills, and the way he carried himself hinted at a depth she couldn't yet comprehend. Ayo, for his part, couldn't help but admire Beatrice's courage and resolve. She wasn't just a sheltered heiress running from an arranged marriage. She was a determined woman, willing to face danger for the truth. "What do we do next?" Beatrice asked, her eyes glowing with newfound determination. "We find somewhere safer and start working on a plan," Aho replied, his tone decisive. "If you want the truth about your mother, I'll help you. But from now on, we'll need to work together." Beatrice nodded. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't alone. Outside, the night stretched on, and the pursuit showed no signs of stopping. But inside that small room, amidst the chaos of conspiracy and danger, a fragile spark of hope began to flicker between 2 people brought together by fate. Chapter 4: Shadows of the Past. The apartment Iho led Beatrice to was nestled within a high-end building, complete with a private entrance and rigorous security measures. Inside, the luxurious space boasted floor-to-ceiling glass walls, offering a panoramic view of the city's glittering skyline. The lights from skyscrapers danced across the glossy marble floors, creating an atmosphere of serene sophistication. Beatrice sank into a plush sofa, her eyes darting around the apartment, taking in its opulence. She couldn't help but question how a security guard could afford such a lavish place. "Would you like something to drink?" Aho asked, his voice calm, though his sharp gaze suggested he was calculating his next move. "Coffee if you have it," Beatrice replied, trying to keep her tone neutral. She knew the conversation to come could change everything. Ajo poured 2 cups of coffee and sat across from her, placing a laptop on the table between them. The screen's glow highlighted the seriousness in his expression. After a few moments of silence, he finally spoke. "I think it's time you knew the truth." Opening the laptop, Iho brought up a series of charts, financial data, and company names. He began to explain, Maxwell Richardson doesn't just want to marry you to save your family's company. His plans go far beyond that. This isn't a typical business deal. It's part of a global network of manipulation he's been building. Beatrice furrowed her brow, her expression hardening. What do you mean? Ayo pointed to a data sheet on the screen, which listed the names of companies Richardson had acquired over the past decade. Richardson operates a network of shell companies through investment funds and anonymous accounts. He uses these entities to acquire cutting-edge technologies worldwide, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and biomedical advancements. Beatrice leaned forward, scrutinizing the data. The numbers and names seemed to weave a dark tale. But why does he need all this technology? What's his endgame? Aho paused, his eyes locking onto hers. To partner with Angela Chen. The name rang like an alarm in Beatrice's mind. Angela Chen, the pharmaceutical tycoon renowned for groundbreaking medical research, had long been whispered about in connection with financial scandals and legal controversies. Angela Chen, Beatrice echoed, skepticism lacing her tone. I thought she was just a brilliant scientist and entrepreneur. Brilliant, yes, but also incredibly dangerous, Aho said, pulling up another file. Richardson and Chen are collaborating on a bioweapons project disguised as medical research. They're creating artificial diseases and then selling exorbitantly priced cures. Worse, these bioweapons can be used to manipulate governments and economies. A chill ran down Beatrice's spine. She stared at the screen, which displayed incriminating financial contracts and leaked emails between Richardson and Chen. How far along are they? She asked, her voice trembling. Ajo shook his head. I'm not certain, but if the marriage between you and Richardson happens, he'll gain full access to Silverstone Industries' technological infrastructure. That's the final piece he needs to complete this project. Beatrice felt a surge of anger rise within her. I can't let that happen, she said firmly. But what can we do? He has power, money, and an entire network behind him. We're not powerless, Aho replied. He retrieved a small external hard drive from his pocket and placed it on the table. This contains some of the data I've gathered on Richardson's operations, but I need your help to analyze it. Beatrice met his gaze, her eyes brimming with newfound determination. I know a bit about financial analysis. My mother taught me how to spot irregularities in transactions and accounts. Perfect, Aho said, a small smile breaking through his otherwise serious demeanor. I'll provide the tools. You just need to use your insight. They began working immediately. Aho supplied advanced analytical software, while Beatrice combed through the data with precision. Hours blurred into moments as they unraveled the web of deception, piece by piece. Look here, Beatrice said, pointing to a suspicious transaction. A Swiss company is being used to launder money, which is then funneled into Angela Chen's secret labs. Aho nodded. And here, he added, pulling up another chart, money from Silverstone Industries is poised to fund their global rollout. It's the final link in their chain. The deeper Beatrice delved, the more sinister the conspiracy became. Leaked documents revealed human trials conducted in developing countries, where healthcare systems were ill-equipped to detect lab-engineered viruses. We have to stop them, Beatrice said, her voice filled with resolve. Not just for my family, but for everyone they're going to hurt. Aho looked at her with admiration. You're not just brave, you're brilliant. I'll help you no matter what it takes. Their eyes met, and an unspoken connection seemed to form between them. Two people from vastly different worlds, drawn together by a shared purpose. Neither said another word. Outside, the city lights sparkled like stars, but the shadow of Richardson and Chen's schemes loomed over the view. Both knew this was only the beginning of a dangerous, unrelenting fight. Chapter 5. The Journey to Uncover the Truth. Aho's private jet ascended from the tarmac of a secluded airstrip, leaving behind the fading city lights. Beatrice sat by the window, her eyes fixed on the billowing clouds illuminated by the moonlight. Her mind swirled with the weight of their recent discoveries. The perilous conspiracy orchestrated by Maxwell Richardson and Angela Chen, and the burden she now bore to protect her family's legacy. This is going to be a long journey, Aho said, breaking the silence. He sat across from her, his gaze calm but piercing. "We've got about 8 hours before we reach my base in Accra. Get some rest. You'll need your strength." Beatrice gave a faint, ironic smile. "I doubt I can sleep while being hunted by a network as powerful as theirs." Aho nodded, conceding. "I understand the feeling, but if we're going to win this fight, we'll need to stay sharp, physically and mentally." The flight was smooth for the first few hours. Beatrice began to feel a sliver of calm returning, but it was short-lived. The plane jolted suddenly, snapping her back to full alertness. The lights flickered, and the pilot's voice crackled through the intercom. "We've got an unidentified aircraft approaching from behind. It's likely unfriendly." Aho stood immediately, his demeanor shifting to one of steely focus. "Stay here," he instructed Beatrice firmly. "I need to check on this." Through the window, Beatrice spotted 2 small planes closing in on them. They bore the insignia of an unknown freight company, but she recognized them instantly as part of Maxwell's fleet. This was an aerial ambush. Ajo returned to the cabin, his face grim. "They won't shoot us down. They need the plane intact. But they'll likely try to force a landing. I've instructed the pilot to redirect to a secret airstrip." Beatrice gripped the armrest, anxiety coursing through her veins. "How did they find us so quickly?" "Maxwell undoubtedly has people tracking your every move," Aho replied, his tone cautious yet resolute. "But don't worry, I've prepared for situations like this." After several tense minutes, their plane made an emergency landing at a small, isolated airstrip in the middle of a vast desert. A reinforced armored vehicle awaited them at the end of the runway. "Get in!" Aho commanded. Beatrice obeyed, but as soon as she climbed into the vehicle, the distant roar of engines reached her ears. A convoy of vehicles was approaching at high speed, kicking up plumes of sand in their wake. "They've caught up to us!" she exclaimed. Aho, gripping the wheel with determination, started the vehicle. "Buckle up, Beatrice. They're not taking us without a fight." The armored vehicle tore across the rugged terrain, navigating sand dunes and narrow ravines. Aho's driving skills were exceptional, weaving through obstacles with precision. Despite the convoy's relentless pursuit, the vehicle's durability and Aho's expertise kept them ahead. "Do you know how to shoot?" Aho asked, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. Beatrice shook her head. "Never tried." A faint smile played on Aho's lips. He retrieved a compact handgun from the console. "There's a first time for everything. Aim for their tires if it comes to that." Beatrice took a deep breath, her hands trembling as she gripped the weapon. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but the thought of protecting her family and herself gave her the strength to push through. Thanks to their teamwork, they managed to lose their pursuers, leaving the dust-covered convoy far behind. As the sun began to rise, they finally arrived in Accra. Aho's secret base was located within a highly secured complex. Beatrice was taken aback by the state-of-the-art security systems and the team of skilled technicians bustling inside. "This is my operations hub," Aho explained, leading her into a laboratory equipped with cutting-edge technology. "My team will analyze all the data and devise a counter-strategy." A technician approached, handing Aho a dossier. "The data from the hard drive indicates Maxwell and Angela are planning to test their new bioweapon in a poverty-stricken region in East Africa," he reported. Beatrice's blood boiled. "They're not just greedy, they're monsters," she murmured. Ayo placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his expression serious. "We'll stop them, but we need to be meticulous. I need you to stand with me." Beatrice met his gaze, finding a sense of trust and determination in his eyes. "I won't back down," she replied, her voice steady with resolve. During their time at the base, Beatrice proved herself not only as a brilliant financial analyst, but also as a courageous and resilient partner. Ajo grew increasingly impressed with her determination. Their late-night conversations and shared planning sessions brought them closer together. One evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the city lights, Ajo spoke softly. "You're not like anyone I've ever met in the corporate world." Beatrice smiled faintly, her eyes tracing the stars above. "And you're not like any security guard I've ever met." They both chuckled, the sound light and genuine, drifting into the cool night air. Yet beneath their laughter lay a deeper connection, an unspoken bond forged through trust, danger, and shared purpose. Though the road ahead remained fraught with peril, They knew they had found not just an ally, but perhaps something even more profound. Chapter 6. Unveiling Secrets in Africa. Iho's base in Accra was more than just a high-tech facility. It was a repository of buried stories and secrets from the past. Beatrice stood in the main research lab, surrounded by screens displaying streams of intricate data. On one of the screens, an image of her mother, Catherine Silverstone, appeared alongside Thomas Ambrose, Iho's father. "That's them," Iho said, his voice low but laden with emotion. They worked together for 4 years to develop a revolutionary medical technology, a gene therapy capable of curing diseases that have no treatment. Beatrice froze, her eyes locked on her mother's image. Catherine's smile radiated determination and passion. "She never told me about this project," Beatrice said, her voice breaking. "She only mentioned working on biotechnology research, but never anything like this." Iho nodded. They kept it secret for a reason. They knew that anyone in the pharmaceutical industry would try to stop them. Maxwell Richardson and Angela Chen were at the top of that list. A young technician named Kojo approached, carrying a folder and a hard drive. "This is the data we recovered from Silverstone Industries' old servers," he said, handing the files to Iho. "It contains all the research Catherine and Thomas conducted, including the final test results." Beatrice skimmed through the documents. While she wasn't an expert in medicine, she understood the magnitude of what she was holding. "This therapy, if it works, it could save millions of lives," she said, her voice trembling with awe. "Exactly," Iho replied, "and that's why Maxwell and Angela destroyed everything." He pointed to a photograph of a burnt-down laboratory. "They staged this explosion as an accident, but in reality, it was how they killed my father and your mother while erasing every trace of the project." Beatrice clenched her fists, her anger bubbling to the surface. "They didn't just kill our parents. They robbed the world of a chance at hope." Iho placed a firm hand on her shoulder, his gaze steady and resolute. "We can't let them get away with this. With this evidence, we can expose the truth, but we need to act smart." The two entered the base's war room, where Iho's team was ready and waiting. Iho began outlining the plan. "Maxwell and Angela are planning to announce a medical breakthrough at a global press conference next week. In reality, it's a bioweapon disguised as a treatment." Beatrice's brow furrowed. "If they succeed, the world will be deceived, and they'll hold ultimate power." "Exactly," Iho said. "We're going to use this press conference against them. I've gathered enough evidence to prove their involvement in the sabotage of our parents' project and their inhumane experiments afterward. Our mission is to reveal everything before the press conference ends." In the following days, the team worked tirelessly. Beatrice not only contributed her financial expertise, but also came up with creative strategies to spread their message to the world. "We need global attention," she said during a meeting, "not just through mainstream media, but also on social platforms. We have to make the truth impossible to ignore." Iho agreed and deployed a digital media team to launch online campaigns. They used images of Catherine and Thomas alongside the damning evidence to highlight their sacrifices and expose Maxwell and Angela. Beatrice also prepared for her role in the press conference. "I won't let them control the narrative," she told Iho. "I'll stand up and speak the truth. They must pay for everything they've done." During rare quiet moments amidst the intense preparations, Beatrice and Iho often sat together on the balcony of the base, gazing at the lights of Accra. "I never expected to find an ally, and more in a situation like this," Beatrice murmured. Iho smiled, his gaze soft yet unwavering. "We've both lost so much, but that's what makes us stronger. And together, we'll finish what our parents started." Beatrice turned to him, feeling a warmth and safety she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I trust you, Iho, and I'm ready to face whatever comes, as long as you're with me." In their eyes, there was more than a determination for justice. A deep and growing belief emerged that love and truth could conquer even the darkest forces. Chapter 7. The Final Battle. The Grand Hall of Silverstone Industries was ablaze with lights, filled with familiar faces from the financial and media worlds. Shareholders, partners, and journalists eagerly awaited the special meeting Maxwell Richardson had declared to be a historic turning point for the company. On stage, a massive screen displayed the logos of Silverstone Industries and Richardson Global, a reminder of the merger that was about to be announced. Maxwell stepped onto the podium with confident strides, his cold smile cloaked behind flowery rhetoric. Today marks an important milestone, not only for Silverstone Industries, but for the entire technology sector. The collaboration between us and Richardson Global will usher in a new era of prosperity. Suddenly the lights flickered. The large screen behind Maxwell transitioned from the company logos to an image of a determined woman with piercing eyes. It was Catherine Silverstone. "Hello, Maxwell," Catherine's voice echoed through the speakers. Though it was just a recording from years ago, it froze the entire hall. "If you're hearing this, it means your plans have been exposed." Maxwell stood paralyzed. The room buzzed with whispers and every eye turned to the screen, where documents, images, and videos began to appear. They presented irrefutable evidence of Maxwell and Angela Chen's involvement in sabotaging the medical project, led by Catherine and Thomas Ambrose. Short clips showed Angela directing illegal experiments and Maxwell orchestrating the bankruptcy of small businesses. The large doors of the hall burst open, drawing everyone's attention. Beatrice and Iho entered, their presence exuding confidence and determination. Beatrice wore a sleek white suit, symbolizing purity and authority, while Iho walked beside her in a sharp, dark suit radiating composure. "I think it's time we told the truth," Beatrice declared as she strode to the stage. Facing Maxwell, her gaze was unwavering. "You can't hide anymore." Iho followed, activating a device that caused every screen in the hall to display the confidential documents they had spent months gathering. "This is what you didn't want anyone to see, Maxwell," Iho said, his voice deep and resolute. "Shell companies, secret deals, and the bioweapons you and Angela developed under the guise of medical research." Maxwell forced a hollow laugh, trying to regain composure. "These allegations are baseless. This is nothing but the desperate act of a failed girl and an outsider." Beatrice stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "Really, Maxwell, these documents were taken directly from your servers. And this," she held up a small hard drive, "is evidence of your orchestration of the explosion that killed my mother and Ayo's father." Angela Chen, seated in the front row, shot to her feet. "This is a fraud. They're trying to ruin us." But before she could continue, security personnel from international investigative agencies entered the hall. "Angela Chen, Maxwell Richardson," an FBI agent announced, "you are under arrest for financial fraud, sabotage, and severe human rights violations." Maxwell and Angela were handcuffed on the spot. They struggled, but their efforts were futile. The room erupted in murmurs, and cameras flashed incessantly as reporters captured the dramatic scene. After Maxwell and Angela were escorted out, Beatrice addressed the crowd, her voice steady yet emotional. "Today, we didn't just save Silverstone Industries from deception. We delivered justice to those harmed by their greed. This is not an ending, but the beginning of a fairer future." Standing beside her, Aho nodded. "We will carry forward the legacy of Catherine Silverstone and Thomas Ambrose, using technology and medicine to serve humanity, not profit from suffering." The meeting concluded with thunderous applause. The shareholders rose to express their support for Beatrice, who had not only reclaimed the company, but restored the Silverstone family's honor. As they stepped out of the hall, Beatrice turned to Aho with gratitude shining in her eyes. "We did it." "We didn't just save a company," Ajo replied, taking her hand. "We saved ourselves. And this is only the beginning. There's so much more to do." Under the golden glow of the setting sun, they walked forward, knowing the future had changed, not just for them, but for the millions who would benefit from the justice they had delivered. Chapter 8. Happiness Rediscovered. 1 year after the fateful day, Catherine Silverstone's garden of black roses bloomed more vibrantly than ever. The jet-black flowers, once a symbol of mystery and pain, had become a testament to hope, rebirth, and love. Beatrice stood before the large mirror in the family dressing room, adorned in a pristine white wedding gown with handcrafted black rose embellishments. The dress was a harmonious blend of past and present, carrying the spirit of the mother she dearly loved. In her hands was a bouquet made of black roses, carefully selected by Aho himself. As Beatrice gazed at her reflection, a radiant smile lit her face, her eyes sparkling with joy. No longer the girl forced into marriage with Maxwell, She now stood as a free, strong woman, confidently stepping into a new life with the man she truly loved. Outside, the Black Rose Garden had been transformed into an enchanting wonderland, adorned with thousands of tiny twinkling lights that created a magical ambience. Family, friends, and colleagues had gathered to witness this sacred moment. At the garden's center, Aho waited. He wore a sleek black suit with a traditional Ghanaian kente scarf, a perfect blend of cultural heritage and modern elegance. When he saw Beatrice approaching, pride and boundless love filled his eyes. As Beatrice walked arm in arm with her father, James, he whispered, "My daughter, your mother must be so proud of you today. You've accomplished what neither she nor I could." Beatrice squeezed his hand gently, her smile warm. "I had both of you guiding me, and now I have Aho by my side." Under the shimmering lights, Beatrice and Ajo stood facing each other, hands intertwined. The priest began the ceremony, but it was their heartfelt vows that moved everyone to tears. "Beatrice," Aho began, his deep voice resonating in the serene air. "A year ago, you came into my life like a storm, disrupting every plan I had ever made. But through you, I learned that sometimes the best things in life are the ones we don't plan for. I vow to stand by you, not just in happiness, but also through challenges. Together, we will build a better future for this world." Beatrice smiled, her voice trembling with emotion. "Aho, you taught me that true love isn't about being bound. It's about freedom. Freedom to trust, to love, and to overcome any obstacle together. I promise to stand by you, not just as your partner, but as your confidant and soulmate." As they exchanged rings, the light caught the rubies embedded in them, symbolizing their fiery love and resilience in overcoming adversity. Following the ceremony, guests joined in a lavish reception held in the garden. Tables were adorned with black and gold roses, symbols of the Silverstone and Ambrose families. The menu featured a refined mix of Western cuisine and traditional African dishes, a declaration that two cultures had beautifully merged into one. James, now healthy after undergoing treatment with the medical technology Catherine had left behind, stood to toast the couple. "Beatrice and Aho," he began, his voice strong, "you have not only brought justice to our family but also created a vision for the world. We are so proud of you." Late at night, when the guests had left, Beatrice and Aho returned to the garden. They stood among the black roses Catherine had planted, feeling her presence in the gentle breeze. "We did it," Beatrice whispered, resting her head on Ajo's shoulder. "And this is only the beginning," Ajo replied, holding her hand tightly. "Our future won't just be about technology or justice. It will be about using them to create a better world." Under the soft glow of the moonlight, they shared a tender kiss, a silent promise to face the challenges ahead together. From this moment, their love and determination would not only shape their story, but inspire millions of others. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Let us know your thoughts on this story in the comments below. What type of stories would you like to hear next? Don't forget to like, share this story,